Hi guys, in this video, we'll do the fundamental analysis, the technical analysis and the sector analysis of a banking stock. My name is Samvek Thakar and you're watching Chat with SK. So HDFC is one of the leading banks, right? And if you look at the screen right now that I'm sharing, you'll be amazed to know of certain things that are actually being done in this bank. Like, this is a leadership in the payments business. Now, how do you know that it's a leader? So if you read this particular line where it says every third rupee spent on cards in India happens on an HDFC bank's issued instrument, right? So that means almost 33% of the cards transaction is happening on a particular bank. With the population that India has, this is actually a tremendous number, right? And they have issued almost 3.21 crore debit cards and 1.45 crore credit cards, right? So and we all know how debit cards and credit cards work, and like how the charges are taken, how all those things happen, right? Now, while this seems a little low, 33%, when you further read this article, it says they have a dominant market share with approximately 50% of their electronic card volumes, right? So it basically holds up a 50% market of the electronic cards, which is insane, right? Talking about the leadership, you can all like these all things like should be known, right? It's one of the largest banking networks in semi-urban and rural India. That is true. It's a market leader in almost every asset category with the best-in-class portfolio quality, and the reason for that is this is one of the most important banks where actually corporates are linked to. So for running any company or a private firm, you need a current account, right? And these current account, if you know, do not provide you with an interest rate, right? So when you're dealing with a private firm, be it any firm, right, that means the transaction volume is extremely high, and obviously the amount of money they keep for them is extremely high. Now this money is obviously used to lend out to the people like us who want loans and all those things, right? So this money is then used for that purpose. So this bank actually holds one of the largest corporates in the world, and basically, yeah, it has a huge number of clients, and that too big clients, right? So this is about HDFC Bank. Not talking a little more about financial industry in total is basically this industry. Why am I more bullish? One thing is obviously that India's GDP is gonna grow, India's financing condition is gonna grow. The other thing that I believe is basically that this industry needs disruption, right? Now we've all heard about Facebook, right? The reason Facebook came was we were not satisfied with the way we communicated, right? Orkut was there at that time, if you guys know, but Orkut was there, and I guess that was the only social media that was existing, right? But we were not satisfied, and hence Facebook came and disrupted the system. We can say the same for Airbnb, we can say the same for Uber or Ola in India, right? There were not enough taxi services, and then came Ola and Uber, right? So that happened. So whenever an industry does not have a sufficient or good quality of services, right, when there's no satisfaction, disruption is supposed to happen. This is what I feel. Right now, I don't feel that banking industry or the financial industry in total is working at a satisfactory pace. This can be proved by none of us are actually happy with our banks, right? None of us. Be it, like, that can be any bank. I'm not talking about HDFC, SBI, ICICI. It can be any bank, and we are still not satisfied on the way the bank works and whatever the efficiency is. That means the disruption in this particular industry is possible. Now, since that is possible, and if you read the last para of this, that HDFC Bank was the first bank in India to launch an international debit card in association with the Visa, and issued the MasterCard Maestro debit card as well. So this means that they are open to induce new technologies into their work. So my bet is that when this disruption happens, when the neo banks come into play, which already are, HDFC banks like HDFC would be the first one to grab to these opportunities, right? And when they do so, obviously the stock prices will skyrocket, and that is what I am betting on, right? Again, just take a note that this is not at all an investment advice, right? I'm just sharing the views that I have and the way I want to invest in this particular stock, right? So now let's take a quick look on how this looks on paper, right? It has a market cap of 852k crores. That means it's a large cap stock, very obviously, right? It trades at a stock PE of 24.9, which is one of the most amazing things, right? A stock at such a discounted level, because it has a stock PE of 24, like very near 20, something which grabs the attention of all the investors. Then it has a book value of 379. That means it is trading almost approximately at 4 times its book value, which is fair right now. And return on equity is 16.5%, which is decent, right? Dividend yield is low, but that's totally fine, because I am betting on the stock prices to rise, and I'm not investing in this particular stock for the dividends, right? Quickly going on to the yes, it's last yearly return, right? So in the last 1 year, it has just given 10% return, which is not bad, but which is not good either, right? And the reason for this is because post COVID, this was already expected. Reason, people are not willing to take loans and all those stuff, so where will it earn money from, right? It was very basic, so that's why it has taken a hit. Looking at the last 5 years, it's 156% return, which is good. Like, it was trading across 600, and then now it is trading across almost 1600. So that's almost like double, 2.5 times the value, right? So that's totally fine. Okay, so now jumping into the analysis of how it looks fundamentally. So when we look at the quarterly results, right, from December 2018, right, the revenue has been 27,434 crores, right, and it jumped up to 32,000 crores. It has steadily increased, which is a very good thing, right? Looking at the financing profit, now before looking at the financing profit, what we should do is we should understand what financing profits are, right? So the financing profit is basically, I have an account in HDFC Bank. I'm a customer of HDFC Bank, right? Now what I do is I keep my money in HDFC Bank. It gives me a decent returns of, let's say, 5 or 4%, right now. It gives me 4% returns, and when I want to take a loan, it is giving me loan at, let's say, 8%, right? So now this 4%, right, this 4% thing is actually the financing margin or the financing profits that they have. They lend me money, they give me an interest of 4% on my savings account, but they charge me 8% on my loan account, right? So this is the financing profit where they earn from. So if you see, it has jumped up from 3,700 to 1,300, which you can say is almost constant, not a particular growth. But considering that the COVID has hit, this is a good growth, you can say. Why? Because if you look in June 2020, it had almost 5,000. So basically it increased from 3,700 to 5,000. And then the COVID hit, less loans were taken, obviously, so less interest rates, and hence they got a little less in the earnings. If you see the net profit, again, net profit has increased from 5,901 to 7,922 crores, right, in the last 2 years, like, right, that this is the time period we're talking about. Now looking at it annually, this was quarterly review. Looking at it annually, if you see, every year the revenue was like 16,233 in March 2010, and now it is 1,28,000 crores, right? So from 16 to, it's a tremendous growth. This is something which we cannot overlook at, right? It has been constantly going up, right? And looking at the financing profit again rose up from 610 crores to 16,000 crores. Now that's a tremendous growth. Looking at the net profit, it has like tenfold, right, from 3,000 crores to 31,000 crores. It's almost 10 times, right? So this is again great. So basically, if you look at all the CAGR values over here, they are good. Like looking at last 10 years, like 15 years, it's almost 15%, 20% thing. So it's all good, right? On the balance sheet, all we can see is like the only thing I look for in a banking stock is NPA, right? A non-performing asset. That's what you can see. So looking at the NPA quarter gonna do, okay, here it is, right? So that's not present for this particular stock, but we can find this anywhere in some other channels. So yeah, we can have a look at the NPA as well. Usually when we look for the banking stocks, we should look for NPAs, that is the non-performing assets, right? So non-performing asset, if you want to understand, is basically, let's say I take a loan and then I declare myself default, right? That basically I cannot repay you the loan, right? Like people like Vijay Mallya, right? So they basically defaulted some banks, so they said like, I don't have money to repay you. That's kind of which adds up to an NPA. So the lower the NPA, the better the position has for the bank, right? So that is the scenario. Now looking at the investors, like now let's look at its promoter holdings and the holdings it has. So we'll start with the total promoter holdings. You see the promoter holdings have been constant so far, right? This means that promoters do believe in the stock, do believe in this, that this will continue to grow, and hence they have not diluted their amount of shares yet. Looking at mutual funds, they have decreased for some time, but then post March they have increased it in 2021, right? From 13% to almost 14.5%, they have increased this. Talking about the other DIIs, it's almost constant. Talking about the FIIs, the foreign institution holdings, it's again constant. Right, so this is a good sign. No one is reducing their holdings. That's a fair thing to say. The other thing that we could look at is now the technical analysis, right? Before jumping into technical analysis, what I'd like to share over here is, now there are two perspectives of buying this particular stock. I'll give my verdict at the last, like whether am I going to invest in this stock or not, but just hear me out. So the important part over here is that this stock can be used for a long-term investing purpose, because I believe in the narrative that the financial industry is gonna grow, right? But actually looking at the technical, and I'll prove that to you, this can be a trading stock for now, right? Again, this is not an investment advice. I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do, right? So let's look at from the long-term perspective. We have already told that it has amazing financials, it has good opportunity to grow. We have seen the holding patterns. They also indicate that people are invested in this. So all in all, it's a good long-term investment stock, right? Talking about the short-term trades, right? So where should we buy it? What are the buying levels and all those stuff? So recently I've bought this share at almost a similar price level last week, and now if you see, it is currently trading at 1539, 1540 levels, right? If you've seen my previous video, you'll know what are support zone and the resistance zone. If you haven't watched that video, do watch that video, right? So let's talk about let's mark the support and resistance zone, and maybe then we'll talk about where to buy and all those stuff, right? So since support zone, I prefer green, I'll choose green, right? So the first support zone that I see over here is obviously this one, right? A very small support zone. Again, you can see this also lies, so this is basically on the same level. It's a support zone. This is a support zone. So basically it proves that this particular range from 1400, like this 1400 part, is a very strong support zone, right? Talking about the resistance, right? So I like resistance in red. So let me choose the red color, and if you go, the stock has gone down from this particular range. So this kind of acts as a small resistance zone. This is a resistance zone. This again is a resistance zone, right? So all these approximate values of, let's say, what, 1600 levels to 1700 levels is a resistance zone. So now where should we buy it, right? Always, it's a very general rule. Buy at support and sell at resistance, right? So is that what we're gonna do? We'll do that, but we'll just look at a little more things here right now, right? The support at which it is trading seems to be a good value to me. Like, you can start accumulating stocks over here, right? It's very close to its 200 DEMA. DEMA is daily moving average. Again, if you don't know what DEMA is, watch my previous videos. I've already explained that, right? I expect it to bounce it from here, from 200 DEMA, right? Touching it and then going up, but it can easily fall up before even up to this 1400 levels. Now at 1400 level is what I am expecting to again bounce, if not at this, if not at like 1520 levels. So if it drops up to 1400 levels, what I'll do is I'll buy a little more of this stock, right? I'll keep it, and if we look at it from a trading perspective, we should be good at selling it for 1600. So buying at 1400, buying it to this level and selling it at 1600 is almost like making 200 rupees per share. That is approximately 13%, right? So making 13% is a decent return. But if you are not willing to, like, if you're thinking of long-term investment, right? So this is a very strong support zone. We should definitely accumulate it. If you're a trader, you must be aware that before this, like if you bought it at 1400, you need to make a stop loss now, right? You need to have a stop loss. Now where we should have the stop loss? So again, we'll obviously talk about the next support zone. If that support zone breaks, we need to book the losses in there, right? So you can clearly see that it has risen up from here twice. So this is basically a support zone and a resistance zone both. So I'll treat it as a support for now. So now if the prices falls up to this level, we need to sell the stock, right? If you are a short-term investor, like if you're willing to trade this stock. If you want to hold for long term, you can just accumulate more and more of it, because it is gonna grow up. Now Ray Dalio is a very big investor. His concept is if a stock has been showing highest ever profits or highest ever net sales, basically net sales and profit in the last quarter, and it is not trading at its highest price, which is 1700 right now, then that's a good stock to buy. It's just a simple strategy for him, right? So obviously we need to look at the news and everything, that there's nothing negative going on with the particular stock, which by the way for HDFC Bank there isn't anything like that. So this is already a buying from a perspective of a very ace investor like Ray Dalio. So that is something again you can try out. I have tried that and it has worked for me. I've traded Coromandel, I've traded Infosys a lot of times from this strategy. Whenever it goes down below its like 100 rupee, 200 rupee thing from its highest ever thing, since it has already bagged best ever profits in quarter, I always buy it and then I just sell it when it reaches a new height, right? That's totally fine. So this is a good strategy to follow on. Another strategy would be to like maybe buy when all this 200 and this 250 and 10-day DEMA and the price point is below all these three things, right? You can buy then as well. So that would be a good thing to do. So that was one thing. So let me know if you want to know some more trading techniques for this video. This is it for now. I'm already invested into this stock, as I told you, and I'm gonna buy furthermore whenever it falls to these particular support and resistance zones, and I'm gonna just add it to my portfolio from a long-term perspective. I'm not gonna trade on this stock. I believe it's more of a long-term investing stock for me, but you can easily trade in this, as I've discussed. So yeah, if you found this video useful, do like, share and comment and share it with your friends. Thank you.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to